operations plan states that we'll be getting a residential detoxification license from the Department of Children and Families. Not to say, though, that both agencies, DCF and ANCA, write regulations for both ALFs as well as residential detox. So the distinction between the agencies is somewhat irrelevant because they write policies for both.
So let me restate the question then. Will you be seeking a license as an ALF?
We could, at a future time until chose.
Thank you.
No comments. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I think there should be some discussion. I mean, frankly, I'm grappling with this because. Go ahead.
I'll start again. I think we've heard as much as there is to hear. I'm going to just go ahead and start rattling off why I support the plan director's decision. First and foremost, I think the standard of one or more reasonable interpretations, he has deference, I think says it all, first of all. I think between Ms. Brinkley, Mr. Kasdan, former Commissioner Libin, Mr. Minigori, I think they have all laid out precisely why Mr. Moody's decision should stand. I don't necessarily feel like, and I don't know that this is the standard by which I am making my decision, but I certainly don't feel like it's a home-like environment for these people. I will tell you from personal experience, my closest cousin and my closest uncle have both gone through these types of facilities. I know them very, very well. Thank God they live clean, healthy lives to this day. Actually, one of them has passed away since old age. Notwithstanding that, he was clean his entire life. You know, people walking in the door and having an exit strategy, I think smacks in the face of what I think Tom is claiming this is, which is a short-term stay. I also worry about, and I don't know if I'm misguided in this or not, but I'll just say it out loud since we're all here. I'm also worried about the slippery slope of shoehorning something in, as has been said, what it might do throughout the rest of the state. I mean, heck, we're here talking about a precedent from California because it's the only one we have. All of a sudden, then we become the precedent. And now anyone that has an ALF all of a sudden can look at us and say, Miami Beach did it. This ALF can now be a detox facility. So those are a few of my reasons, and I'm going to vote to support the planning director.
I'd like to try to find a way to split the baby if possible. The city attorney's memorandum of August 31st states that the city's definition of ACLF is substantially the same as the state's definition of an ALF. Before this hearing began, none of us were experts on what constitutes an ALF, and I dare say none of us still are. It seems to me that the state is the determiner of what constitutes an ALF, since they license them. I would suggest that it might be appropriate to review this application for a detox facility, a residential detox facility, if and only if the applicant is able to obtain a license as an ALF from the state.
I'm not sure if that comes first, just so you know, Jack. let's say they go for the licensure, I think it comes after they get their approvals. I'm not sure that it comes at this early stage.
Well, if that's the case, could we include that requirement in a CUP?
I don't see an objection to that, maybe it would be, it's either, well, right now you're dealing with reversal, modification, or acceptance of the planning director's decision.
It's not an issue.
So it's not really, that's not the issue here for today.
We're either for the planning director or this decision, or we're against the planning director.
Let me just maybe comment, I don't think it's whether you're for or against him, I think it's.
Not him, it's the decision to make.
Right.
And it can be modified.
Let me preface my comments by saying, again, this is not a view whether I am for a detox center or against one in North Beach. I'm sticking with the narrow issue about whether I think the decision to take the jurisdiction away from us is correct. And it's a very, very tough call, but I have to disagree with Jeff. And, you know, as a lawyer, I go by the black letter of the statute and the interpretation and the legislative intent. And when you read the statutory definition of what an ACLF is in the state and in the city, it's a residence that's a private home or boarding home, it satisfies that. Home for the aged or other place or operated for profit, it is that, which undertakes through its ownership or management to provide for a period exceeding 24 hours, it is that. One or more personal services for 4 or more adults not related to the owner or the administrator. My big issue at the beginning of the day was whether it satisfied the personal services definition. Originally, when I was told that there was not going to be self-administered medicine, but that it was going to be administered by professionals, I would have concluded it's not an ALF. After hearing testimony under oath that there will be no medication administered other than self-administered, then it clearly fits within the definition of personal services, which, if you read its statute 429.02 subsection 17, specifically says self-administration of medication and other similar services. Then when you go to the definition of supervision, it defines somebody other than the patient supervising the self-administered medication. Then the next tough issue was whether it is inconsistent with the code that prevents short-term or transient living. My problem with that is, and I've asked this 100 times, is how do you reconcile that with the plain language of the statute, which only requires a stay to be 24 hours or longer? And then when I look at what's currently on the premises, you know, to me that's selective enforcement. The fact that you're allowing an ALF to be there now with no requirement of how long the stay is, and to say that that's okay, but this wouldn't be okay. So again, I am not opining on whether I am for or against a detox center. This is simply whether it should come back to us to ultimately determine whether a conditional use permit should be granted. So I don't think there's, based on the evidence, again, that's that there's no, that it's only self-administered drugs and that it's more than 24 hours. I find that ruling erroneous, and that's my position.
And I disagree with Brian. I really think we need a detox center. I think that your service, we need this. But I just think under an ALF, it's really not the correct purview for this. I think that the planning director has given some remedies. We could locate it in a hospital district. We could, you know, address this as a separate ordinance where we have a whole different part of the code that talks about detox centers, because I think they're very important. I mean, I was on my phone, I'm Googling promises in Malibu. I mean, there's gorgeous ones there. But why not make it that? Where it's not just I mean, again, but I'm just saying, why not make a premier program where it's beautiful and just a thought, and it's a longer term. It's a 30, 60, 90-day program. There's definitely a need for this. But I just think that we should be careful, and we should do it. I went to the location. I mean, to be honest, I think it's slightly depressing. So, and again, it's just,
That's great, but that's not
I know,
the issue.
but I'm just saying, I think it's not our purview to do it as an ALF. I'm gonna agree with Tom, and I think he has provided a remedy.
So, I'm gonna echo what I heard, Mr. Feldman say, and I'm gonna add on to that, with other factors that I thought, I'm a little upset with, Mr. Castor because he kind of stole my thunder. He walks like a duck, sounds like a duck, it is a duck. With all due respect to the noble, intent for a detox center and the good that it does, in this particular area, given the number of beds that that is being requested, the threshold of providing a residential feel where you come in with your suitcase and you're staying for a while, the intent, having 24-hour care, you know, these all add up to me to say that the intent is, you know, not a detox center. So, in fact, if there's something among all the other things I learned today that I don't think I'll ever have to use again, I would say we need to bolster the code because this is so loose. What we've proven today is that the code is so open for interpretation that it is indeed a slippery slope. And unintended consequences could happen if we continue to parse the semantics of this particular code and shoehorn things in that don't at all jive with the intent. So I think Mr. Mooney, planning director, made the right interpretation, and that's where I stand.
I'm gonna echo that. I'm with our planning director.
Yes.
Considered it isn't quite as black and white maybe as you perceive it is. I think there is some legislative intent that's involved here too. We have some legislative intent. It's not cut and dry, and ultimately we defer to the decision of our planning director who's a professional in this field.
I echo that as well, and to me, it hinges on the legislative intent to provide services for elderly persons and this is great. The most home-like environment. As much as I respect the endeavor and the humanity with which you describe the work that you do, I think the planning director was right in concluding that the type of environment it doesn't provide. So I uphold the city's decision.
Okay, with that, someone can make a motion. And the motion would be to either uphold the ruling or reverse the ruling.
Sure, I'll make a motion to uphold the planning director's ruling on this particular issue.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 2 minutes, 5-2.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.